He wasn't a threat, he wasn't loud, he wasn't bold or reckless or the kind of kid who'd stand too close to the edge of anything. He was 15, a quiet kid with soft eyes and a nervous laugh who loved graphite pencils and bleeding ink. His name was Marcus, and he was my brother. On the day he died, he wore his favorite hoodie, the gray one with the frayed cuffs. He had his sketchbook tucked under his arm like always. He left home at 4:12 p.m., said he was heading to the park to draw. He never came back. At 5:09 p.m. my phone rang, unknown number. I answered. "Your brother matched a description," the voice said flatly. "There was an incident. You should come down to the station." They didn't tell me he was dead. I drove fast, too fast, blew a red light and didn't care. My hands trembled on the wheel and my mind flipped through every bad possibility except the one that was waiting for me. At the station, they sat me in a bland gray room. A woman with stiff hair and a clipboard tried to explain. Her voice was rehearsed. She said Marcus was stopped for questioning, that he ran, that he resisted, that he reached for something in his pocket. She said the officers responded in line with protocol. Then they showed me the photo. 5 bullet wounds, 4 to the chest, 1 in the back. He hadn't reached for anything. He hadn't had time. The press conference came 2 days later, a parade of uniforms and meaningless words. Chief Halvers spoke with his hands clasped. "It's tragic," he said, "but our officers feared for their lives." He matched the description of a robbery suspect reported in the area. "We are cooperating with internal review." Behind him stood the 2 cops who'd killed Marcus, Officer Dunn and Officer Reyes. I memorized their faces. I saw a curl at the corner of Reyes's mouth, a smirk, like this was a joke, like Marcus's life was a footnote in a longer story they'd been telling for years. They walked away, no charges, no suspension, no accountability. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in Marcus's room, surrounded by his sketches, a portrait of our mom, unfinished, a drawing of a basketball court, empty and detailed. He had shaded every corner with care. I picked up his hoodie, still damp with blood, still cold. I stopped crying. I stopped hoping. Justice wasn't coming. So I started planning. I watched their homes. Officer Dunn lived in a quiet suburb with his wife and golden retriever. His house was 2 stories, brick, clean yard. He worked late shifts. His wife left the porch light on every night. Officer Reyes had no wife, lived alone in a small duplex, smoked cigars on his back patio, watched basketball with the volume up too loud. He drove a Dodge Charger and liked to stop at the same diner every Thursday night. I got a job delivering packages. No one asks questions when you wear a brown uniform and carry a clipboard. I learned their routines. I mapped their blind spots. I noted which windows stayed dark and which doors were never locked. It wasn't enough to kill them. I wanted them to feel what I felt, to fear the silence, to wait for a knock that never came. I wanted them to know that someone was out there, watching. I started leaving reminders. A charcoal sketch of Marcus's face taped to Dunn's mailbox. Bullet casing on Reyes's doorstep, polished clean. They called it harassment, filed reports, talked big, but they were nervous. I saw it in the way they checked their mirrors, in the way they kept their hands close to their belts, even off duty. I hacked into the precinct database. It wasn't hard. A friend of mine from high school worked IT. He owed me a favor. I got access to their body cams, watched the footage that wasn't released. Marcus never ran. He was walking, earbuds in. He looked up when they shouted, raised his hands, said something I couldn't hear. Then they rushed him, tackled him, and before he hit the ground, they opened fire. They muted the audio before the first shot, but they left the rest. I burned the footage to a drive, made copies, sent one to the mayor, another to the local news station, a third I kept in my pocket. I started going to the gym, learned how to fight, how to disarm, how to make pain last longer. This wasn't rage. This was control. I didn't want revenge in a flash. I wanted it slow, measured, earned. The first real test came one rainy night. Reyes parked his Charger outside a liquor store. He left the engine running. When inside, I slid into the back seat. Wait. When he got back in, I pressed the barrel of a stun gun to his neck. He convulsed, went limp. I drove him out of town, 30 miles east, middle of nowhere, abandoned barn I found a month ago. Tied him to a chair, waited for him to wake up. He blinked, swore, tried to laugh. "You're dead," he said. "No," I said. "He is. I'm just getting started." He said it was protocol, that he thought Marcus had a weapon, that everything happened fast. I showed him the footage, held the screen inches from his face. "Tell me what you see," I said. He cried, begged, said he made a mistake. "You shot a 15-year-old 5 times. I was scared," he whispered. "Good," I said. "You should be. I didn't kill him that night." I broke 3 fingers, carved the word liar into his forearm with a box cutter, left him tied there with a burner phone, told him to call for help before the cold got worse. Dunn was next, but his turn would come later. I needed more than fear. I needed the world to watch. Reyes didn't tell anyone. They found him 2 days later, walking barefoot along Highway 74, blood dried down his shirt, muttering nonsense. He said he was mugged, refused to name anyone. They chalked it up to trauma. Sent him to a psych ward for evaluation. That was fine. I wasn't done with him yet. But Dunn noticed. He changed his route to work, started carrying a second gun in his ankle holster. When he took his dog out, he kept his back to the house, always watching. He knew something was coming, but not when. Not how. That was the part I needed him to drown in. I followed him for weeks. He picked up a routine, morning jogs at 5 a.m., always the same trail, the one behind his neighborhood that cut through a patch of woods. Hardly anyone out there that early, too cold, too quiet. Perfect. I made my move on a Monday. He jogged past the park bench where I sat every morning, pretending to sip coffee. This time, I followed, hood up, gloves on. He didn't notice until we hit the 3rd bend. He turned, reached. I was faster. Tackled him, jammed the stun baton into his ribs. He screamed once before his body went stiff. I dragged him off the path, into the trees, down to where I'd already prepped the clearing. No chair this time, just a rope, a pulley, a metal hook buried in the ground. When he came to, he was upside down, hanging by his ankles, blood rushing to his head, mouth gagged. He thrashed. I waited. When he settled, I cut the gag. "Officer Dunn," I said, "do you remember what you said at the press conference?" He squinted, dazed, tried to speak. "You said it was unfortunate, that you feared for your life. But you weren't afraid, were you?" He shook his head, lips quivering. Marcus was 15, carried a sketchbook. Dunn started sobbing, whispered something I couldn't hear. I took a scalpel from my coat, held it to his cheek. "Tell me the truth." He broke fast. They got the call about a suspicious black male near the park. Dispatch never gave a name, just said someone called it in. They saw Marcus walking, hoodie up, thought he might run. Reyes joked that it'd be good to show the rookies how to handle a runner. He admitted they didn't see a weapon. Didn't wait to check, Dunn just followed Reyes' lead. Fired when he did. "Were you scared?" He didn't answer. I pressed the blade deeper. "No," he said, "we weren't scared. We just didn't think." I recorded everything. Then I left him there. Called it in as a hiker who'd found a man injured in the woods. By the time the ambulance arrived, I was already gone. Now they were both broken, but that wasn't enough. The department issued a short statement after Dunn's incident, called it an unrelated mental health episode. They were trying to bury it, pretend nothing had happened, still protecting their own. I had to go bigger, so I leaked the footage, the full, uncut body cam video. Sent it to every local station, uploaded it to every social feed. Then I attached the recordings. Reyes' confession, Dunn's whimpers, labeled it the truth they tried to bury. It exploded. Within hours, it was everywhere. Protests reignited. Marches filled the streets. The department tried damage control, claimed they were deeply troubled, promised new training, called it a tragedy, but not one arrest, not one indictment, not even a suspension. That's when I understood. They didn't care because they didn't fear consequences. They'd buried too many already. They were insulated, untouchable. So I changed tactics. It wasn't about Reyes or Dunn anymore. It was about everyone who let it happen. The chief, the review board, the mayor who shook hands but never looked me in the eye. I turned my attention to them. First was Officer Callow. He was on the scene after Marcus died, helped clean it up, claimed Marcus had something in his hand. I traced his off-duty gig to a private security firm. He worked nights at a warehouse. I cut the power one night, disabled the cameras, waited inside. He never even reached for his flashlight. Woke up zip-tied to a chair. "You said he resisted," I whispered. "I just wrote what I was told," he said, shaking. I didn't break his fingers. I just showed him the photo of Marcus's body, pointed to the bullet wound in the back. Then I laid out 5 ball bearings on the table in front of him. "Each one," I said, "for a bullet. I want you to feel what he felt." But slower. He begged. I never touched him. I let the silence work. When I walked away, I left him alone in the dark with a timer ticking down. No bomb, just noise. Took him 4 hours to figure that out. He never went back to work, quit the force the next day. But I still hadn't touched the chief. Calvers was the root. He was the one who signed off on the internal review. The one who stood at the podium and said my brother was a case of mistaken identity. He lived in a high-security condo downtown, bodyguards, cameras, layers. I waited until the day of the department banquet. They rented out a country club, formal wear, speeches, celebration, the whole force invited. I snuck in through catering, swapped badges, slipped past the guards like smoke. Then I stood in the back, black coat zipped up, watching as Halvers raised his glass and toasted the heroes who keep our city safe. I hit play. The speakers blared Marcus's final words, lifted from the muted audio I'd restored. Then the gunshots, then silence. Every head turned. I walked down the center aisle and tossed a bundle of papers at Halvers' feet. It was every report, every lie, every edited frame. "You let it happen," I said. "You called it unfortunate. Here's your fortune." Security tackled me, dragged me out, but I'd already won. The banquet ended in chaos. The next morning, 6 officers resigned. Halvers was placed on leave, and the city was on fire again, not from protest, but from shame. Still, no charges. But now they were afraid. I wasn't done. The system wasn't going to break from a few leaks and resignations. They were used to scandals. They had routines for this. Reassign, rebrand, wait until the outrage fades. But I had time, and they had names. There was one woman I kept thinking about, Linda Marston, Civilian Review Board Chair. She stood at the press conference 3 weeks after Marcus died and called the shooting within the bounds of standard engagement. Said she'd reviewed the footage. Said there was nothing further to pursue. She lied. I knew she hadn't seen the full footage because the department didn't release it, not even to oversight, only the edited version, the one with no audio. I checked. She had lied to protect them. I followed her for weeks. She lived in a condo overlooking the river, drove a silver Lexus, picked up groceries on Wednesdays, took Pilates on Saturdays. She wore fake smiles in every meeting, deflected every question from grieving families with cold, bureaucratic calm. I broke into her car, left a single photo of Marcus on her dashboard. No note, just his face. Then I called her from a payphone 3 blocks away, disguised my voice. "Do you believe in redemption?" I asked. She hung up. Didn't go home that night, checked into a hotel. Fear was a seed. You just had to water it. While she unraveled, I focused on Sergeant Clive Doran. He trained Dunn and Reyes, gave them their first evaluations, called them model officers in his reports. I found a bar he frequented, same stool, same scotch, every Thursday night. I waited until he stumbled out to the alley for a smoke. Dunn said you encouraged it, I said from the shadows. He spun, startled, eyes scanning. Who the hell are you? The voice you muted, the witness you ignored. He reached for something under his coat. I was already behind him, wrenched his arm back, snapped his wrist on the dumpster edge. He screamed. You taught them to shoot first, to assume guilt. You made it protocol. He dropped, curled on the ground, gasping. I crouched beside him, pulled out a voice recorder. You're going to say it, out loud, what you told them, why you called Marcus a threat. He shook his head, said nothing. I showed him the needle, thin, surgical, filled with saline. But he didn't know that. You've got 20 seconds before I inject. You know what adrenaline flooding the heart feels like? He talked. Said he told them never take chances with urban kids in high-stress zones. Said better to act than regret. He didn't call it racism. He called it survival instinct. I got it all next morning. His confession was posted everywhere. He resigned that afternoon, claimed health issues, but it wasn't enough to expose the rot. I had to pull the roots. So I went to the academy, where they'd trained them, where they'd learned how to see threats where none existed. I enrolled in a civilian security course, sat through the same lectures they gave rookies, listened to instructors say things like, tense hands mean aggression, and compliance is subjective. One night, I stayed late, accessed the training database, downloaded old evaluation forms, performance scores, disciplinary files. Reyes had been flagged for excessive force twice, Dunn once, both cleared by internal review. I leaked those too, not anonymously this time. I used my name. It was the first time I'd spoken publicly since the funeral. I stood in front of City Hall, held Marcus's sketchbook up, showed the pages, told the crowd what each one was, what he was drawing when they stopped him, what the bullet tore through. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I made them feel it. And when I finished, I said one sentence into the microphone. They said he resisted, so I gave them something worth resisting. That night, a riot broke out, not like the others. Not anger in the streets. This was different. Cops walked off the job. 3 precincts shut down for safety concerns. Families of other victims came forward. Lawsuits were filed, then came the breaking point. Reyes disappeared. He was supposed to testify in one of the hearings. Never showed. They found his car in a river. No body, just his badge, bent in half. People assumed suicide, but I knew he had run. Dunn vanished too, gone from his house. Left a note for his wife that just said, he's coming. I didn't have to touch them again. I'd already made them prisoners of their own panic. And the city? It was cracking, power shifting, people watching every move. The mayor finally relented, called for an independent investigation, promised cooperation, declared war on anyone prepared. I didn't care anymore. I wasn't looking for their apologies. I wanted silence. The kind they gave Marcus when they lied about his death, when they stared into cameras and shrugged, when they said he resisted and walked free. I wanted them to feel the hush, the cold, the breath that catches when you think you're alone but know you're not. And I had one last visit to make. To Chief Halvers. Halvers didn't run. That's the thing about men like him. They don't believe the fall ever comes. They think the world bends back eventually. That noise fades, time passes, and people forget. He still gave interviews, still said reform is a process, still denied any wrongdoing, but he moved differently now. Extra security at his condo, An armored SUV, private escorts to and from the station. His wife stopped appearing in public. His son withdrew from college mid-semester. The cracks were there, behind his eyes, in his voice. He was waiting for the hammer to drop. He just didn't know when. And let it build. I spent 3 weeks gathering everything I needed. Blueprints of his building, emergency access codes, his daily routines narrowed down to 10-minute windows. I wasn't going to hurt him. Not in the way they expected. I wanted his mask off. I wanted him exposed, raw, nothing left to hide behind. I waited for a Friday night, the kind of night where people start forgetting again, where city lights blur and distractions grow louder than grief. Halvers stepped into the parking garage at 8:47 p.m. His driver unlocked the back door of the SUV, but Halvers didn't make it there. He saw me first, just standing there by the stairwell. Dressed plain, no mask, no gloves, just me. His eyes widened. He turned to shout, but I already had the remote. The sprinkler system activated. Not water, projection. Every wall in that garage lit up with footage. Marcus's footage. The body cam feed, uncut, the gunshots, his voice, the blood. On the opposite wall, confessions, Dunn's words, Race's cries, Doran's mutterings. The whole place echoed with the truth they buried. Halvers backed up, stumbled, slid against the concrete as if trying to escape light itself. "This is your legacy," I said, stepping toward him. He reached for his belt, too late. I knocked him down, pinned him, held a voice recorder to his mouth. "You want to explain now? Say something? This is your last podium." His voice broke. He said he didn't know, that the department failed him too, that he trusted the system and it let everyone down. I pressed harder. "You signed off on the review. You stood there and called my brother a mistake. 5 shots, 1 in the back." Tears welled up in his eyes. "I didn't see the footage until later," he said. "They filtered everything, told me what to say. By the time I knew, it was too late." He shook in my grip. "They said he resisted, but he didn't. I know that now." I leaned closer. "Oh, say it. Say what you should have said when it mattered." He looked right at the cameras surrounding us. "I lied," he whispered. "We all did, to protect ourselves, to protect the department. Marcus did nothing wrong. We murdered him." Silence. Then I stood, left him there, shaking, weeping, surrounded by a truth so loud it buried every excuse. I uploaded the final video that night. No mask, no aliases, just me, my face, my name. I told the world everything, from the first photo to the last recording. The rage, the patience, the plan. I showed them the truth. And then I disappeared. There were manhunts, statements, lawsuits, citywide panic. But I wasn't a secret anymore. I was a mirror. And in time, things began to change. Not overnight, not in one sweeping wave, but piece by piece. The department was overhauled, internal review dismantled, the academy restructured, the mayor stepped down, and in every public meeting, people brought one name: Marcus. His sketchbook was published, turned into a gallery exhibit, the hoodie framed behind bulletproof glass, not to hide the stains, but to honor them. They built a memorial at the park where he died. Simple. A bench. A plaque. And a quote etched into the stone beneath it. They said he resisted, but the truth never will. I visit sometimes. Sit there alone, sketchbook in my lap. I can't draw like he did. My lines are rough, my shading too heavy, but I try because that's all I ever wanted. Not revenge, not blood, just the truth, wide open, undeniable, permanent. And now, when they speak of Dunn and Rays and Halvers, they don't talk about service. They don't talk about valor or protocol or defense. They talk about the silence they gave Marcus and the resistance I gave them.